She was just a broke waitress taking a shortcut home when she heard the scream. Without thinking, she threw herself between the muggers and an elegant old woman she'd never met. What she didn't know, the woman was a Mafia boss's mother. And now, whether she likes it or not, his dangerous world has claimed her as its own. The smell hit Clara first, rotting garbage mixed with rain-soaked concrete. She pulled her jacket tighter, her sneakers splashing through puddles as she cut through the alley behind Fifth Avenue. 3 years in Chicago, and she still took this shortcut every Tuesday night after her double shift at Murphy's Diner. It saved her 10 minutes and a $1.50 bus fare she couldn't afford. Tonight, she regretted it. "Please, just take it." A woman's voice cracked through the darkness, desperate and sharp. Clara froze. Her hand instinctively reached for the pepper spray on her keychain, the one her roommate Sarah had given her, the one she'd never actually used. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she peered around a dumpster. 2 men in dark hoodies had cornered an older woman against the brick wall. The streetlight at the alley's end cast long, twisted shadows that made everything look like a scene from a nightmare. One of the men grabbed at the woman's designer purse, yanking hard enough that she stumbled forward. "The watch too, lady. Don't make this difficult." The older woman was maybe 65, elegant even in crisis, gray hair swept back, a wool coat that probably cost more than Clara's entire wardrobe. But it was her eyes that Clara noticed most. Even from 20 feet away, even in fear, there was something fierce in them, something that refused to break. "You have the purse," the woman said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "That's enough." The second man laughed, a sound like broken glass. "We'll decide what's enough." Clara's fingers tightened around her keys. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to call 911, to do anything except what she was about to do. She had $43 in her bank account, an eviction notice taped to her apartment door, and a life complicated enough without adding mugging victim to the list. But she couldn't walk away. She grabbed the metal trash can lid leaning against the dumpster. It was heavier than she expected, cold and slick with something she didn't want to think about. Her hands shook as she raised it above her head. "This is insane. This is completely insane." "Hey!" Clara's voice came out stronger than she felt. She slammed the lid against the dumpster, the clang echoing off the walls like a gunshot. "Chicago PD. Drop the purse and step away from the woman." It was a terrible bluff. Her voice wavered on the last word, and she definitely didn't look like any police officer in her stained waitress uniform and falling-apart sneakers. But in the dark, with adrenaline pumping, it bought her 3 seconds of confusion. 3 seconds was enough. The older woman didn't hesitate. She shoved past the first man and ran toward the streetlight, her expensive shoes clicking against the wet pavement. She was faster than Clara expected, moving with purpose despite her age. "You little..." The first man spun toward Clara, his face hidden behind a black bandana. "You're not a cop." Clara's courage evaporated like steam. "No. No, I'm really not." She threw the trash can lid like a frisbee. It wobbled through the air and hit the man in the shoulder. Barely a tap, but enough to make him curse. Then she ran. Not toward the street. Not toward safety. Toward the men. It was the stupidest decision of her life, but it was the only one that made sense. If she ran away, they'd catch the older woman. If she ran toward them, maybe, just maybe, she could buy a few more seconds. The second man grabbed her arm, his grip like iron. Clara twisted, screaming, her free hand clawing at his face. Her fingers caught the edge of his bandana and pulled it down. She glimpsed a tattoo on his neck, some kind of snake or dragon, before his fist connected with her ribs. The pain exploded white-hot through her chest. Clara doubled over, gasping, but she kept fighting. She kicked backward, her heel connecting with his shin. He swore and shoved her hard. Clara hit the ground, her palms scraping against the rough concrete. The world tilted sideways. Through the ringing in her ears, she heard footsteps, running away, not toward her. Both men, retreating into the deeper shadows of the alley. You crazy, one of them yelled back. You could have died. Then they were gone, swallowed by the darkness between buildings. Clara lay there for a moment, her chest heaving, every breath sending sharp pains through her ribs. The cold concrete seeped through her jacket. Her hands burned where the skin had torn. But she was alive. She pushed herself up slowly, wincing. The alley was empty now except for her and the scattered contents of the woman's purse, a lipstick, some tissues, a phone with a cracked screen. No wallet. The men had gotten away with something, at least. At the mouth of the alley, where the streetlight painted everything in harsh yellow, Clara saw her. The older woman stood perfectly still, watching. Their eyes met across the distance. Clara expected thanks. Maybe an offer to call an ambulance, or at least are you okay? Instead, the woman's expression was unreadable, calculating, intense, like she was memorizing every detail of Clara's face. Like she was solving a puzzle Clara didn't know existed. Then, without a word, the woman turned and disappeared around the corner. Clara sat back against the cold brick wall, her hands shaking as the adrenaline finally crashed. She pulled out her phone, screen intact, thank God, and stared at the 911 screen without dialing. What would she even say? That she'd assaulted 2 muggers and the victim just walked away. You're an idiot, Clara Martinez, she whispered to herself. A complete idiot. She didn't know the woman's name.
Didn't know if she was okay.
Didn't know anything except that she'd just done something impossibly reckless for a total stranger. What Clara definitely didn't know, couldn't possibly know, was that the woman was Rosa Russo. That she was the mother of the most dangerous man in Chicago. That security cameras on 3 buildings had caught everything. That even now, as Clara limped toward home, her face was being screenshotted, enhanced, and sent to people who lived in a world where kindness was currency and debts were always paid. Clara had saved a life tonight. And in 3 days, that decision would cost her everything she thought she knew about safety, about anonymity, about the invisible line between ordinary people and the ones who ran the shadows. The alley fell silent again, just another forgotten corner of Chicago. But nothing would be forgotten. Not tonight. Damien Russo didn't believe in coincidences. He sat behind his desk in the back office of Russo and Sons Imports, a legitimate business that handled very legitimate shipments of olive oil, wine, and other things the IRS didn't need to know about. The desk was mahogany, expensive, positioned so he could see both doors. Old habit. Useful habit. His mother sat across from him, still wearing the wool coat from earlier, a cup of tea cooling in her hands. She hadn't touched it. Tell me again, Damien said quietly. Everything. Rosa Russo was not a woman who frightened easily. She'd raised 3 sons in a world where fear was weakness, where showing emotion could get you killed. But her hands trembled slightly as she set down the teacup. I was walking back from Teresa's apartment. 2 blocks from the restaurant, no more. 2 men. What did they look like?
Hoodies.
Dark clothes. One had a tattoo on his neck, I think. A snake, maybe. She paused. They wanted the purse, the watch. Standard robbery. Nothing is standard when it involves you. Ma. Damien's voice was calm, but his jaw was tight. You had Marco and Tony with you. Where were they? I told them to wait at the car. Teresa's neighborhood is safe, Damien. I didn't think. You didn't think? He stood up, his 6-foot frame casting a shadow across the desk. You're my mother. You don't get to not think about security. Rosa's eyes flashed with that same fire Clara had seen in the alley. Don't lecture me, boy. I was handling threats before you were born. Damien took a breath, reined himself in. Anger was useless. Anger made you sloppy. Tell me about the girl. She came out of nowhere. Rosa's expression softened.
Young.
25, maybe. Waitress uniform, I think. Dark hair, brown eyes. Small, but she searched for the word.
Fierce.
She threw something at them, distracted them long enough for me to run. And then? She fought them. Actually fought them, Damien. 2 men twice her size, and she didn't run away. Rosa shook her head, something like wonder in her voice. She ran toward them. To give me time. Did she say anything? Ask for anything? Nothing.
She just
Left. Walked away like she'd rescued a cat from a tree. Damien moved to the window, overlooking the warehouse floor below. Crates being loaded, trucks being checked, men doing honest work for dishonest money. His empire, built on control and calculation. Nobody gets near you by accident, Ma. You think she was planted? I think it's convenient. Too convenient. He pulled out his phone, pressed a single button. Get me Luca.
now.
3 minutes later, his consigliere walked in. Luca Moretti was 52, gray-haired, and had forgotten more about Chicago's underworld than most people would ever learn. He'd been Damien's father's right hand. Now, he was Damien's. We have a problem, Damien said, gesturing to Rosa. Tell him. Rosa repeated the story, shorter this time, clinical. Luca listened without interrupting, his face unreadable. When she finished, Luca was quiet for a moment. Then, it smells wrong. That's what I thought. Damien turned back to the window. Pull everything. I want footage from every camera within 3 blocks of that alley. Traffic cams, store security, private buildings, I don't care whose property it is. Get it? Already on it, Luca pulled out a tablet, fingers moving across the screen. I sent Marcus and Joey to the scene 20 minutes ago. They've got preliminary footage from a pawn shop camera. Caught most of the incident.
He turned the tablet around.
Grainy black and white footage played silently. 2 figures attacking Rosa. Then a third figure appearing from the left, throwing something. The chaos of the fight. Rosa running. The girl on the ground. The attackers fleeing. Damien watched it 3 times, memorizing every detail. The girl's body language, the way she moved. The hesitation before she acted, the fear in her posture. The genuine surprise when she got hit. Freeze it there, he pointed at the screen. Get me a clear shot of her face. Luca tapped the screen. The image zoomed in, enhanced. A young woman's face, caught in the streetlight, eyes wide with terror and determination. Run it through facial recognition. I want a name, address, workplace, criminal record if she has one. Banking information. Social media. Everything. It's too convenient, boss, Luca said carefully. Girl shows up right when your mother's vulnerable? Plays the hero? It's textbook setup. Maybe Damien studied the frozen image. Or maybe she's just stupid. Stupid people don't survive in alleys against armed muggers. She didn't survive. She got lucky, but even as Damien said it, he wasn't sure he believed it. There was something in the girl's face, something genuine, or something very, very well rehearsed. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Got her. Clara Martinez, 26. Waitress at Murphy's Diner on West Madison. Clean record. No gang affiliations. Lives alone in a studio on Ashland. Too clean. Everything was too clean. I want eyes on her, Damien said. 24/7. Where she goes, who she talks to, who contacts her. If someone set this up, they'll make contact to see if it worked. And if nobody contacts her? Luca asked. Damien was silent for a moment, thinking. If this was a setup, they'd need to see the response, see if bringing the girl in would flush out whoever was behind it. If it wasn't a setup, if she was genuinely just a nobody who made a stupid choice. Well, stupid choices had consequences in his world. Bring her in, Damien said finally. Quietly. No public scene. Make it look random. Wrong place, wrong time. We'll ask our questions, see what she knows. When? Give it 3 days. Let whoever's watching think they got away with it. Then move. Rosa stood up sharply. Damien, she saved my life. Or she staged a convincing performance. Either way, Ma, she's involved now. And everyone involved in my business gets interviewed. His voice softened slightly. If she's innocent, she walks away with a story and some compensation for her trouble. If she's not, he didn't finish the sentence. Luca nodded and headed for the door. Rosa stayed, her eyes fixed on her son. Your father would have sent flowers, she said quietly. My father is dead because he trusted the wrong people. Damien looked at his mother, at the woman who taught him that mercy was a luxury their family couldn't afford. I won't make the same mistake. Rosa left without another word. Alone in his office, Damien looked at the frozen image on Luca's tablet one more time. Clara Martinez. Nobody. Waitress. Hero or plant. Genuine or fake. In 3 days, he'd know which. And if she was playing him, if someone thought they could use his mother as bait, he'd make sure they learned what happened when you made the Russo family look weak. The office fell silent except for the hum of the warehouse below. Damien picked up his phone and made another call. It's me. I need a team ready. 3 days. He hung up and returned to his paperwork. Business as usual. Until it wasn't. Clara had almost convinced herself it was over. 3 days had passed since the alley. 3 days of limping through double shifts with bruised ribs, fielding questions from Sarah about the scrapes on her palms, and jumping at every shadow on her walk home. But nothing had happened. No follow-up. No police questions. No mysterious thank you cards from elegant old ladies. Life had gone back to normal. Sort of. Except for the car. Clara first noticed it on Thursday, a black SUV with tinted windows parked across from Murphy's diner. She dismissed it. Chicago was full of black SUVs. But then she saw it again Friday morning, same spot. And Friday night, different location, same vehicle. You're being paranoid, Sarah had said, stirring her coffee. It's probably just someone who works nearby. Clara wanted to believe that. She really did. Now it was Saturday evening, and Clara was walking home with a bag of dollar store groceries that would maybe last 3 days if she stretched it. The sky was that particular shade of gray that promised rain. Her feet hurt. Her ribs still ached when she breathed too deep. All she wanted was to collapse on her lumpy couch and pretend the world didn't exist for a few hours. She turned onto Ashland Avenue, her street. 2 blocks to home. The black SUV pulled up beside her. Clara's heart dropped into her stomach. She walked faster, gripping her grocery bag like a shield. The SUV matched her pace, crawling along the curb. The passenger window rolled down. Clara Martinez? A man's voice, professional, almost polite. She didn't look, didn't answer, just kept walking, eyes fixed straight ahead. Her apartment building was 1 block away. 1 block. Miss Martinez, we need to talk to you. I'm not interested, Clara said, her voice shaking. Whatever you're selling. The SUV stopped abruptly. 3 doors opened simultaneously. Clara ran. She made it maybe 10 feet before strong hands grabbed her from behind. Her grocery bag fell, cans rolling across the sidewalk. She opened her mouth to scream, and a hand clamped over it, rough and smelling like leather. Don't make this difficult, a voice hissed in her ear. Clara thrashed, kicking backward, trying to bite the hand covering her mouth. But there were too many of them. 2 men, maybe 3, moving with practiced efficiency. They weren't random muggers. They were professionals. A black cloth bag went over her head. The world went dark. Her hands were pulled behind her back, zip ties cutting into her wrists. Then she was lifted off her feet and thrown into the vehicle like luggage. The door slammed. The engine roared. They were moving. Clara's scream was muffled by something shoved into her mouth. Cloth, rough, and tasting like chemicals. She couldn't breathe right, couldn't see, couldn't move. Panic clawed at her throat. Her mind raced through terrible possibilities. This is it. This is how I die. In the back of an SUV. Nobody will know what happened. She's hyperventilating, someone said. Male voice, young, almost bored. Let her. Makes them compliant. The vehicle turned sharply. Clara rolled against someone's legs. A hand steadied her, not gentle but not rough either. She tried to speak, to beg, to ask why, but the gag turned everything into meaningless noise. Time became meaningless. 5 minutes or 50, Clara couldn't tell. Every second stretched into eternity. The SUV's engine hummed. Someone's phone buzzed. Normal sounds in an absolutely insane situation. Finally, they stopped. Hands grabbed her again, pulling her out. Her feet hit concrete. A warehouse, maybe, or a garage. She could hear the echo of footsteps, feel the cold industrial air. They walked her forward, her sneakers scuffing against the ground. A door opened. Then another. Then they sat her down hard in a metal chair. The zip ties were cut from her wrists, but before Clara could move, her arms were pulled to the chair's armrests and secured again. Same with her ankles. She was completely immobilized. The hood was ripped off. Clara blinked against the sudden brightness. A single overhead bulb illuminated a small concrete room. No windows. One metal door. The chair she sat in was bolted to the floor. There was a drain in the center of the room. Oh God. Oh God, this is a kill room. 3 men stood around her.
Suits.
Expensive ones. They looked like businessmen, not thugs. Somehow that made it worse. The gag was removed. Clara gasped, sucking in air, her jaw aching. Please, she managed. Please, I don't have money. I don't have anything. You've got the wrong person. The men didn't respond. One of them checked his phone. Another leaned against the wall, arms crossed. They were waiting. Please just tell me what you want. The door opened. A 4th man walked in, older than the others, gray hair, sharp eyes. He looked at Clara the way someone might examine a bug under a microscope, with clinical curiosity and zero emotion. Miss Martinez, he said. His voice was cultured, educated. Do you know why you're here?
No.
No, I swear, I don't know anything. I'm nobody. I'm just a waitress. You know exactly why you're here. The words were cold. Final. Like a judge reading a death sentence. Clara's mind raced. Was this about the alley? The old woman? But that was 3 days ago. She'd saved someone. She'd done a good thing. Why would? Unless the woman hadn't wanted to be saved. Unless Clara had stumbled into something she wasn't supposed to see. Unless those weren't random muggers and Clara had just destroyed someone's plan. The woman in the alley, Clara whispered. This is about her. The gray-haired man's expression didn't change. Smart girl. Not smart enough to mind your own business, but smart enough to figure out you're in trouble. I didn't see anything.
I don't know anything.
She needed help and I helped. That's all. That's all, the man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You inserted yourself into a very delicate situation, Miss Martinez. Made yourself relevant. Made yourself a variable. I'm not a variable. I'm just. You're whatever we decide you are. He pulled out a phone. Typed something. Right now, you're a question mark. And my employer doesn't like questions. So we're going to have a conversation. A very thorough conversation. And you're going to tell us everything. There's nothing to tell. Then this will be quick. He gestured to one of the other men. Start with the basics. Who sent her? Who she works for? What she was supposed to accomplish. Nobody sent me. Nobody. But they weren't listening anymore. The gray-haired man left. The door closed with a heavy, final thud. One of the remaining men pulled up a chair, sat down backward on it, facing Clara. Let's try this again, he said calmly. From the beginning. Who do you work for? Clara's voice cracked. Murphy's Diner. I work at Murphy's Diner on West Madison. You can call them. They'll tell you. I'm nobody. I'm nobody. The man sighed like she was being deliberately difficult. And Clara realized with absolute, crystalline terror that nothing she said would matter. They'd already decided she was guilty of something. The only question was what they'd do to her before they figured out they were wrong. If they ever figured it out at all. The door opened again 30 minutes later. Clara had answered the same questions over and over.
Who sent you?
Why that alley? How did you know she'd be there? What were you paid? Her voice was hoarse from insisting she was telling the truth, from begging them to just check her phone, her apartment, her bank account. Anything that would prove she was exactly who she said she was. Nobody. The man who walked in now was different. He didn't look like muscle. He looked like money. Tailored charcoal suit, no tie, dark hair swept back from a face that could have belonged to a banker or a lawyer. But it was his eyes that made Clara's breath catch. They were dark, calculating, and absolutely devoid of warmth. Eyes that had seen terrible things and hadn't flinched. The other men straightened immediately, a subtle shift that spoke volumes. This was the boss. He studied Clara for a long moment, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Then he pulled up the chair the interrogator had vacated and sat down. Close enough that Clara could smell his cologne, expensive, cedar and something darker. "Miss Martinez," he said quietly. "I'm Damien Rousseau." The name meant nothing to Clara. Should it? The way he said it suggested she should recognize it, should be more terrified than she already was. But her mind was blank with panic. I don't know who that is," she stammered. Something flickered in his expression.
Surprise, maybe.
Or calculation. "The woman you helped 3 nights ago. That was my mother." Clara's heart lurched. "Is she okay? Did they hurt her?" Damien's eyebrows rose slightly. Of all the responses he'd expected, genuine concern wasn't one of them. "She's fine. Thanks to you." Allegedly. Allegedly? Clara shook her head, confused. "I don't understand. I helped her. Why would you?" "Because nobody gets near my mother by accident, Miss Martinez. Nobody gets that lucky, that brave, that perfectly positioned unless they're very well paid or very well trained." He leaned forward slightly. "So, which are you?" "Neither. I'm a waitress. I was walking home from work, and I heard her scream, and I just—" Clara's voice broke. "I just reacted. That's all. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who anyone was." "You expect me to believe you risked your life for a stranger? Out of kindness?" The words dripped with skepticism.
Yes.
"Because that's what happened." Damien watched her with that same unsettling intensity. "Walk me through it. Every detail. What time did you leave work?" Clara took a shaky breath. 10:15. Maybe 10:20. "I always take the alley shortcut on Tuesday nights because the bus stop is." "You always take that route? Same day, same time?"
Yes.
"Every Tuesday after my double shift." Predictable. Damien glanced at one of his men. "Easy to track." "I'm not being tracked. I'm broke. I take the alley because it saves me bus fare." Frustration overrode fear for a moment. "Look at me. Do I look like someone with mob connections? I have $43 in my bank account and an eviction notice on my door. I can't even afford my own life, much less some elaborate scheme." Damien's expression didn't change, but something in his posture shifted. He pulled out his phone, typed something. 30 seconds later, it buzzed. He read the screen, his jaw tightening slightly. "Your building manager confirms you're 2 months behind on rent," he said quietly. "Murphy's Diner says you picked up extra shifts last month. Your bank records show no large deposits, no unusual transactions. No phone calls to unknown numbers." He looked up. "You're either exactly what you appear to be, or you're the best prepared operative I've ever seen." "I'm not an operative. I don't even know what that means." "It means someone who gets paid to do a job. To infiltrate. To set up situations." His voice was clinical, explaining like a teacher. "My family has enemies, Miss Martinez. People who would very much like to know our vulnerabilities. Using my mother as bait would be an effective way to test our security response." Clara felt like she was drowning. "I didn't. None of that was me. I swear on my life." "Your life is exactly what you're swearing on." Damien stood, paced to the wall, back. Thinking. "Tell me about the attackers. What did they look like?" "Hoodies. Dark clothes. One had a tattoo on his neck, a snake, I think. Or a dragon." "I pulled his bandana down by accident." By accident? Damien's tone suggested nothing was accidental. "And then he hit me. I fell. They ran away." Clara's voice got smaller. "I thought maybe I'd done something good. That maybe for one side." She stopped, blinking back tears. She wouldn't cry in front of him. She wouldn't. Damien pulled out his phone again, showed her the screen. Grainy security footage of the alley. Is this you? Clara watched herself throw the trash can lid, watched herself run toward danger instead of away from it, watched herself get knocked down. The girl in the video looked terrified and reckless and completely unprepared. Yes, she whispered. Damien studied her face while she watched the video, reading her reactions, her micro-expressions, the way her hands trembled, the way her breath hitched when she saw herself hit the ground. He made a decision. Luca, he said without looking away from Clara. Run a complete background. Everyone she knows, every place she's worked, school records, social media, everything. Cross-reference with known associates of the Castellano family, the Italians, the Russians. I want confirmation she's clean. On it, the gray-haired man from earlier left. Damien crouched down so he was eye level with Clara. This close, she could see the faint scar above his left eyebrow, the shadows under his eyes that suggested he didn't sleep much. Up close, he was less terrifying and more human. Still dangerous, but human. Either you're the bravest idiot I've met, he said quietly, or exactly what you say you are. A waitress who made a very, very stupid choice. The second one, Clara said immediately. Definitely the second one. If you're lying, if I find out you're working for someone, there won't be a second conversation. Do you understand? Clara nodded, her throat tight. If you're telling the truth, he stood, straightened his jacket. Then you've stumbled into something very dangerous, and you're going to stay dangerous until I figure out who actually staged that attack and why. I can go home. Eventually, Damien moved toward the door. When Luca clears you. Could be an hour.
Could be 6.
Depends on how clean you really are. And then. He paused at the door, looked back. And then Miss Martinez will see. You saved my mother's life. That means something. But it also makes you a loose end. And I don't leave loose ends. The door closed behind him with a hollow thud. Clara sat alone in the concrete room, still tied to the chair, still terrified. But something had shifted. He'd listened. He was checking her story. He hadn't decided she was guilty. It wasn't freedom. But it was something. She closed her eyes and prayed that her boring, broke, uneventful life would finally work in her favor. Just this once. For hours later, Luca returned to Damien's office with a tablet and a grim expression. She's clean, he said, setting the device on the desk. Almost suspiciously clean. No criminal record, no gang affiliations, no suspicious contacts. Her entire life is documented and boring. Works 2 jobs, barely makes rent, hasn't left Illinois in 3 years. Damien scrolled through the report. Clara Martinez's entire existence laid out in data points and timeline entries. High school in Springfield. Community college dropout. Couldn't afford tuition. Moved to Chicago at 23. Worked at Murphy's Diner ever since. Her social media was sparse. Occasional photos with her roommate Sarah Chen, complaints about the Chicago weather, shared posts about cat adoption events. No red flags. Damien asked.
None.
She's exactly what she appears to be. Nobody. Luca paused. Which either means she's genuinely innocent, or someone spent years building an incredibly deep cover. Years for one alley ambush? That's excessive even for the Castellanos. Maybe it wasn't about your mother specifically. Maybe they built an asset and waited for the right opportunity. Luca leaned against the desk. Or maybe she's just a girl who made a stupid choice and we're overthinking it. Damien stared at Clara's photo on the screen. She looked younger in it, smiling at some diner event, wearing a paper birthday hat. Before she'd stumbled into his world. Before fear had carved itself into her features. The attack itself, Damien said slowly. You pulled footage from other angles? 3 cameras total. The attackers were professionals, moved with training, knew where the blind spots were. But they let Rosa go too easily. The girl interfered and they just ran. Exactly. Damien stood, moved to the window overlooking the warehouse. They weren't trying to rob my mother. They were testing response time. Seeing how long it would take for security to arrive. What protocols we'd follow. The Castellanos, Luca said. Has to be. They've been quiet for 6 months, watching, learning. This was a probe. A low-risk way to study our weaknesses. Damien's jaw tightened. And the girl was supposed to be collateral damage. Someone they could blame if it went wrong. So, she's innocent. Of being planted? Yes, Damien turned back. But she's still useful. Luca raised an eyebrow. How? Whoever staged this doesn't know we grabbed her. For all they know, she went home, kept her mouth shut, forgot about it. But if they think we're interested in her, Damien smiled, cold and calculated. They'll assume she's become an asset. Someone under our protection. You want to use her as bait. I want to see who comes sniffing around. Damien paced, thinking out loud. We release her. Make it quiet but not invisible. Let our surveillance be just visible enough that the right people notice. If the Castellanos were behind this, they'll make contact. Try to turn her, threaten her, something. And if they try to grab her, then we grab them. Finally get confirmation of who's making moves against us. Damien picked up his phone. It's clean. Low risk. She goes back to her normal life. We keep eyes on her, and we wait. She won't agree to it. She doesn't have to agree. She doesn't even have to know. Damien headed for the door. She just has to live her life while we watch who takes an interest. Luca followed. And when this is over, when we've identified the threat, Damien paused. Then she goes back to being nobody, with enough money to handle her rent problem and forget this ever happened. If she survives being bait, she'll survive. We'll make sure of it. Damien's voice was firm. My mother would expect that much. Clara jerked awake when the door opened. She dozed off at some point, exhaustion overriding terror. Her neck ached from the awkward angle of the chair. Damien walked in alone. No guards, no Luca. Just him and that unreadable expression. You're free to go, he said simply. Clara blinked. What? Your story checks out. You're not working for anyone. You're just... He paused, something almost like amusement in his eyes. An idiot with good intentions. I can leave. Yes, he moved behind her. Cut the zip ties himself. But understand something, Miss Martinez. You saved my mother. That creates a debt. It also creates attention. Attention you don't want. Clara rubbed her wrists, red and raw from the restraints. I just want to forget this happened. Then we're in agreement. Damien pulled out an envelope from his jacket, set it on the small table beside her. There's $3,000 in there. For your trouble. For your rent. For keeping this incident to yourself. Clara stared at the envelope like it might explode. I don't want. It's not a request. Take it. Pay your rent. Buy yourself a new pair of shoes. His voice softened slightly. You did a brave thing. Stupid, but brave. This is me saying thank you. And if I don't take it, then you walk out of here with nothing but bruises and a story you can't tell anyone. He moved toward the door. Your choice. Clara grabbed the envelope with shaking hands. $3,000. 2 months of not worrying about food or eviction. The practical part of her brain, the part that had kept her alive through poverty and struggle, overrode everything else. Thank you, she whispered. Damien nodded. A car will take you home. Don't come looking for us again, Miss Martinez. This world isn't for people like you. I won't. I promise. But as she followed him through the warehouse, past men who watched her with calculating eyes, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that promises didn't mean much here. The SUV ride back was silent. They dropped her off 2 blocks from her apartment, far enough that neighbors wouldn't see exactly where she'd come from. Clara stumbled out, still clutching the envelope, and watched the vehicle drive away. Her street looked exactly the same. Same broken streetlight, same graffiti on the corner store, same world she'd left 4 hours ago. But Clara felt different, marked somehow, changed. She made it to her apartment, locked the door, and collapsed on her couch. The envelope sat on her coffee table, thick and heavy with possibility. She'd survived. She was free. She had money to fix her life. It was over. 3 blocks away, in an unmarked sedan, 2 of Damien's men settled in for the first shift. She's home, Marcus said into his phone. Setting up rotation now. Damien's voice crackled back. 24/7 coverage. If anyone approaches her, I want to know immediately. If she sneezes wrong, I want to know. Got it, boss. The phone clicked off. Marcus glanced at his partner. Thinks she knows. Knows what? That she's bait? No way. Joey pulled out a thermos of coffee. Poor girl thinks she's safe. They both smiled grimly. Nobody was safe in Damien Russo's world. Not even the innocent ones. Especially not the innocent ones. Clara returned to work Monday morning hoping everything would go back to normal. She'd paid her rent with Damien's money, bought actual groceries, and told herself the nightmare was over. She walked into Murphy's diner at 5:30 a.m. ready to forget. But the way Marcus, the line cook, looked at her told a different story. Clara, he said her name carefully, like she might explode. You okay?
Fine. Why?
She tied her apron, grabbed her order pad. Just heard you had a rough weekend. Clara froze.
Who told you that?
Marcus exchanged glances with Jenny, the other morning waitress. Jenny suddenly became very interested in refilling salt shakers. Your roommate came by Saturday night, Marcus said slowly. Looking for you. Said you hadn't come home. Said she saw you get grabbed by some guys in suits and thrown into an SUV. Clara's stomach dropped. She texted Sarah that night from a burner phone one of Damien's men had given her. A brief "I'm okay. Explain later" message. But Sarah had already seen. Already knew. It was a misunderstanding, Clara said quickly. Wrong place, wrong time. It's handled. Handled. Jenny finally looked up, her eyes wide. Clara, Sarah said they looked like Mafia. Like actual organized crime. That's ridiculous. Is it? Marcus leaned against the counter. Because you're walking different. Moving like your ribs hurt. And those bruises on your wrists look fresh. Clara pulled her sleeves down reflexively. I'm fine. Really? Can we just work? But she saw it in their faces. The fear. The distance. They didn't believe her. And worse, they didn't want to be near whatever trouble she'd brought with her. The morning shift crawled by. Clara felt eyes on her constantly. Co-workers whispering when she passed. Customers who'd been regulars suddenly asking for different sections. Even Mike, the manager who'd always been friendly, kept his distance. During her break, she found Jenny and Marcus talking by the time clock. They stopped when they saw her. Don't let me interrupt, Clara said, sharper than she meant to. Jenny bit her lip. Clara, we're not trying to be rude. We're just worried.
About you.
About. If being around you is safe. Safe. The word stung more than Clara expected. I got confused with someone else. That's all. It's over. Then why is there a black car across the street? Marcus pointed out the window. Same one that's been there since you showed up this morning. Clara's blood went cold. She looked. Sure enough, a dark sedan sat parked along the curb, tinted windows reflecting the morning sun. Different from the SUV that had taken her, but similar enough. They were still watching her. Damien was still watching her. I don't know, Clara whispered. I don't know anything anymore. By Tuesday, the whole neighborhood knew. Mrs. Chun from apartment 3B, who'd always smiled and shared dumplings, now hurried past Clara in the hallway without making eye contact. The teenagers who usually hung out on the front step scattered when she approached. Even her landlord, Mr. Kowalski, seemed nervous when she handed him the rent check. This is all of it. He stared at the cash like it might be counterfeit. Plus late fees.
Yes.
We're current now. He looked at her, then at the money, then back at her. Clara, if you're in some kind of trouble. I'm not. Because this building is family-friendly. I can't have. I paid my rent. That's what you wanted, right? Clara's voice cracked slightly. I'm a good tenant. I've never caused problems. Mr. Kowalski nodded slowly, pocketed the money. Just be careful. Whatever's going on. Everyone thought something was going on. The whispers followed Clara everywhere. At the laundromat, conversation stopped when she entered. At the corner store, the owner watched her with wary eyes. Her entire world had shifted 6 inches to the left, familiar but wrong. The only person who didn't avoid her was Tony Marchetti. Tony lived 2 floors down, worked construction, and had always been friendly in that generic neighbor way. Now, he was suddenly very friendly. "Hey, Clara." He caught up to her Wednesday evening as she climbed the stairs. "How's it going?" "Fine," she kept walking. "Listen, I was thinking, maybe we could grab a drink sometime? Get to know each other better?" Clara stopped, turned. Tony was smiling, but there was something calculated behind it. Something opportunistic. "You've lived here 2 years and never asked me out before," she said flatly. "Well, you know." Timing his smile faltered. "Plus I heard you've got some interesting connections now. Figured it might be good to be friends." Connections. Clara felt something bitter rise in her throat. "You mean you heard rumors and thought I might be useful?" "Hey, I'm just saying. I don't have connections, Tony. I don't have anything." She turned away. "Leave me alone." She made it to her apartment before the tears came. Sarah was at work, thankfully. Clara locked the door, slid down against it, and let herself break down. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number.
Stop crying. You're fine.
Clara's breath caught. She looked around her apartment wildly. No cameras that she could see, but another text. "We're outside, not inside. Relax." "Who is this?" "Protection detail. Boss wanted you to know we're here. Just in case." "In case of what?" No response. Clara threw her phone across the room. It bounced off the couch, undamaged. Of course it was undamaged. Nothing in her life broke the way it was supposed to anymore. She'd saved someone, done one good thing, and somehow that single choice had infected everything. Her job was uncomfortable. Her neighbors were scared or scheming. Her friends, her real friends, were distant because they didn't know how to handle this version of her. The girl who'd been taken by the Mafia and came back. That's what they were calling her. She'd heard it at the diner, whispered when someone thought she couldn't hear. She got snatched by the Mafia and came back alive. Like she was marked now. Tainted. Dangerous by association. Clara pulled herself up, washed her face, stared at her reflection. Same brown eyes, same face, same person. But the world saw someone different now. Someone connected. Someone to fear or use or avoid. She thought about the envelope of cash, still had over 2,000 left. Thought about leaving Chicago, starting over somewhere else. Somewhere without whispers and surveillance cars and neighbors who looked at her like she was a bomb waiting to explode. But even as she thought it, she knew. They'd find her. Damien would find her. Because whatever game he was playing, whatever reason he was still watching her, it wasn't over. She was a piece on a board she couldn't even see. And pieces didn't get to choose when the game ended. Clara made herself dinner, ramen, because some things didn't change, and tried to pretend her life wasn't falling apart one whisper at a time. Outside, in the sedan Marcus radioed in. Subject is home. Upset. Seems to have figured out she's under surveillance. Damien's voice came back untroubled. Good. Let her know we're here. Makes the bait more believable. Copy that. The line went dead. And Clara, eating ramen alone in her apartment, had no idea that her isolation was exactly what Damien wanted. Vulnerable. Visible. Perfect. Thursday night, Clara took the long route home from work. Not the alley, never the alley again, but the well-lit streets where people walked dogs and couples held hands. Normal people doing normal things. She'd made it 2 blocks when she felt it. That prickling awareness of being watched. Not by Damien's men in their obvious sedan. She'd gotten used to them, the way you get used to a persistent headache. This was different. Sharper. More immediate. Clara walked faster. The street was busy enough, shops still open, a few restaurants with outdoor seating despite the October chill. Safe. She was safe. A man stepped out from a doorway ahead of her. Just standing there, hands in his pockets, watching her approach. Early 30s, leather jacket, dark hair. He smiled when he saw her notice him. Clara's instinct screamed. She turned to cross the street. Another man blocked her path. Older, heavy-set, wearing a bull's cap pulled low. He wasn't smiling. "Clara Martinez," the first man said. Not a question. A confirmation. "I don't want trouble," Clara said loudly, hoping someone nearby would hear. "I'm just trying to get home." "So are we," the first man moved closer. Not threatening exactly, but deliberate. "Just trying to get home. But first, we need to have a quick chat. I don't know you." "No, but you know friends of ours," he gestured to a coffee shop behind him. "Let's grab a cup." 5 minutes. Nice and public. The man behind her, bull's cap, shifted position slightly. Not blocking her exactly, but making it clear running wasn't an option. Clara's heart hammered. Where were Damien's men? The sedan should be following her. Unless they'd lost her in the crowds, unless. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Smart girl. Don't trust strangers." The first man pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. "Recognize this." Clara's stomach dropped. It was her, being pushed into the black SUV 4 days ago. Taken from a distance, but crystal clear. Damien's men grabbing her, the struggle, everything. "We know who took you," he said quietly. "We know you came back. That means you're either very lucky or very connected." He pocketed the phone. "We're betting on connected." "I'm not." "See, here's the thing. The Russo family doesn't grab random waitresses and let them walk away. Doesn't work like that. So either you're dead, which clearly you're not, or you're working for them now." Clara shook her head frantically. "I'm not working for anyone. They questioned me and let me go. That's all." "Then why are they still watching you?" Bull's cap spoke for the first time, his voice rough. He nodded toward something behind Clara. She turned. Half a block back, barely visible in the evening crowd, the sedan. Damien's men. "Protective detail," the first man continued. "Russo doesn't waste resources on nobodies. Which means you matter to him. Which means," he smiled again, cold and calculating, "you can pass along a message." "I can't. I don't talk to them. I don't know them." "You don't have to talk to them. They talk to you." He moved closer, lowering his voice. "Here's what's going to happen. My friend here is going to put something in your bag. You're going to take it home, and when Russo's boys ask you about your evening, and they will, you're going to give it to them." "I won't." "You will. Because if you don't, we'll assume you're not being cooperative. And people who don't cooperate with us." He didn't finish the sentence.
Didn't need to.
Clara felt hands on her purse. Bull's cap, moving with practiced efficiency. He unzipped the outer pocket, slipped something inside, zipped it back up. The whole thing took 3 seconds. "What is that?" Clara's voice came out as a whisper. "A message. Nothing dangerous. Just information your new boss needs to see." The first man stepped back, casual, like they'd just had a friendly conversation. "You deliver it. That's all. Easy, right?" "I'm not delivering anything. I'll throw it away the second you leave." His expression hardened. "No, you won't. Because we know where you live, Clara Martinez. We know where you work. We know your roommate Sarah teaches ESL classes on Tuesday and Thursday evenings at Roosevelt High. We know everything." The threat landed like a physical blow.
Sarah. They knew about Sarah.
"Don't hurt her," Clara breathed. "She has nothing to do with this. Then make sure that message gets delivered. Tonight." He turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Clara, don't try to run. Don't try to hide. You're in this now. The only way out is through." They walked away, disappearing into the evening crowd like they'd never existed. Clara stood frozen on the sidewalk, people flowing around her. Her purse felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Inside was something, a message, a package. Who knew what? Meant for Damien Russo. Meant for the man who'd kidnapped and interrogated her. Meant for the Mafia. She looked back. The sedan was still there. Had they seen the encounter? Were they about to swoop in? Nothing happened. The car just sat there, watching. Clara forced herself to walk. Her apartment was still 10 blocks away. Every step felt like walking deeper into quicksand. Her mind raced through options. Throw the envelope away, but they'd threaten Sarah.
They knew where she lived.
Give it to Damien's men, but then she'd be actively working for him, actually passing messages like they assumed she was. Go to the police and tell them what? That she was caught between two criminal organizations because she'd tried to help someone. There were no good choices, just varying degrees of terrible. She made it home, her hands shaking so badly she could barely unlock the door. Sarah wasn't there yet, teaching night. Clara dumped her purse on the kitchen table like it might bite her. The envelope was plain manila, sealed, bulky. Something solid inside. Papers maybe. Or money. Or God knew what. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, but she knew who it was.
Saw you talking to someone.
Everything okay? Damien's surveillance team.
Of course they'd seen.
Of course they had questions. Clara stared at the phone, then at the envelope, then back at the phone. She typed, I need to talk to Damien Russo.
Now.
The response came within seconds. Cars downstairs. Clara grabbed the envelope. Her purse, didn't even bother with a jacket. She flew down the stairs and out the front door. The sedan was already there, back door open. She got in without being asked. The warehouse, she said. Take me to him.
Now.
The driver glanced at his partner, then pulled away from the curb. Clara clutched the envelope in her lap. She'd spent 4 days trying to escape Damien Russo's world. Now she was running straight back into it. Because the alternative, being crushed between two forces she didn't understand, was somehow worse. She was done being a pawn. If she was going to survive this, she needed to know the rules of the game. And the only person who could teach her was the man she feared most. The warehouse looked different at night. Darker. More menacing. Security lights cast harsh shadows across the loading dock where the sedan pulled up. Clara was escorted inside by the same men who'd grabbed her days ago, but this time she walked willingly. Almost willingly. Damien was waiting in his office, standing by the window with his back to the door. Luca sat at the desk, tablet in hand. Both turned when Clara entered. Miss Martinez, Damien's tone was neutral. Unexpected visit. Clara held up the envelope with shaking hands. Your enemies gave me this. Told me to deliver it to you. Said if I didn't, her voice cracked. They threatened my roommate. Damien crossed the room in 3 strides, took the envelope. Not from her hands. He was careful not to touch her. He held it up to the light, examining it. When did this happen? 20 minutes ago.
2 men.
They knew about the SUV. Knew you'd taken me. They think I work for you now. Clara wrapped her arms around herself. I don't. I don't work for anyone. But they won't believe me, and you won't leave me alone, and I'm stuck in the middle of something I don't understand. Sit down, Damien said quietly. I don't want to sit down. I want this to stop.
Sit.
Down, the command was soft but absolute. Clara sat. Her legs were shaking anyway. Damien handed the envelope to Luca, who produced a pocket knife and carefully slit it open. He extracted the contents, several sheets of paper and a USB drive. His eyebrows rose. Well, Luca said, scanning the pages. They're not subtle. What is it? Damien leaned over his shoulder. Property records. Shipping manifests. Photos of our distribution routes. Luca looked up. They're showing us what they know. This is a flex. Damien took one of the sheets, studied it.
His jaw tightened.
These manifests are 3 weeks old. Someone inside leaked them. Or they've had surveillance running longer than we thought. Luca plugged the USB into his tablet. Lines of code filled the screen. Encrypted.
Give me a minute.
Clara watched them work, her panic slowly giving way to confusion. They weren't angry at her. They were treating this like a business problem, a puzzle to solve. Why me? She asked finally. Why use me to deliver this? Because they think you're mine, Damien said without looking up. A new asset. Someone I value enough to protect. He glanced at her then, something calculating in his expression. And they're right about the protection part, at least. I don't want her protection. I want my normal life back. Your normal life ended the moment you stepped into that alley. Damien turned to face her fully. Accept that. The faster you do, the easier this becomes. Got it, Luca interrupted. He turned the tablet around. It's a message. Short and sweet. We can reach anyone, anywhere. Next time it won't be a waitress. Damien read it, his expression unreadable. Then unexpectedly he smiled. Cold and satisfied. Castellanos. Has to be. They're threatening an escalation, Luca warned.
No.
They're showing weakness, Damien paced, thinking aloud. If they could hit us directly, they would. Instead, they're using intermediaries, staging elaborate tests, making threats. They're probing because they don't know our full strength. And they used Clara to deliver this because they think she belongs to me. That I've recruited her. Damien stopped pacing, looked at Clara. They've seen my men watching you. They know I gave you money. From their perspective, you're an asset. Maybe even leverage. Clara's stomach twisted. So, what happens now? They think I'm working for you. You know I'm not. Do I just disappear? Witness protection or something? No, Damien crossed his arms. Now we use this. Use what? You, he said it simply, like it was obvious. They've handed us a perfect opportunity. They think you're connected to me. So we make that connection visible. Obvious. We draw them out. Draw them out. Clara stood up fast. I'm not bait. You already are bait, Miss Martinez. Have been since the moment my mother got attacked. The only question is whether you're bait with protection or bait left to die on a hook. The words hit like a slap. Clara opened her mouth. Closed it. He was right. She'd been a pawn this whole time, moving across a board she couldn't see. If I agree to this, if I let you use me as bait, what happens to Sarah? My roommate. They threatened her. She gets protection too. Discreet but effective, Damien moved to his desk, pulled out a phone. I'll have 2 men outside her school during teaching nights. She'll never know they're there. And when this is over, when you've caught whoever you're trying to catch, then you get what I promised. Money, safety, anonymity. You go back to being nobody. He met her eyes. But you have to trust me to get you there. Clara laughed, harsh and bitter. Trust you? You kidnapped me. And I let you go. Paid your rent. Kept you safe when enemies I didn't know existed started circling. His voice softened slightly. I'm not asking you to like me, Miss Martinez. I'm asking you to be smart. Work with me, and you survive this. Fight me, and you're on your own against people who've already proven they know where you sleep. The choice wasn't really a choice at all. What do I have to do? Clara whispered. Live your life. Go to work, go home, be visible. My men will increase their presence, more obvious cars, more frequent check-ins. We make it clear you're under Russo protection. The Castellanos will either back off or make a move. Either way, we'll have confirmation of who's behind this. And if they make a move, we'll be ready. They won't get close. Damien pulled out an envelope, thicker than the last one. $5,000. For your cooperation and your trouble. And a phone, he set a smartphone on the desk. Keep it on you at all times. 1 button speed dial to my direct line. Anything feels wrong, you call. Clara stared at the money, the phone. Her hands trembled as she picked them up. How long will this take?
Days.
Maybe a week. Luca closed his tablet. These things move fast once they start moving. And my roommate really will be safe. Safer than she is now, Damien said. That's a promise. Clara nodded slowly. She was doing this, actually agreeing to be bait for a mafia war. The absurdity almost made her laugh. 1 condition, she said. Damien raised an eyebrow. You're not in a position to make conditions. 1 condition, Clara repeated, stronger now. When this is over, you don't just make me disappear. You help me actually disappear. New city, new start, enough money to build something real. Damien studied her for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he nodded.
Deal.
You help me end this. I help you start over. He extended his hand. Clara looked at it. The hand of a criminal, a manipulator, a man who'd turned her life inside out, but also the only lifeline she had. She shook it. "Welcome to the game, Miss Martinez," Damien said. "Try not to die." It wasn't comforting, but it was honest. And right now, honesty was all she had. Friday afternoon, Clara was folding laundry in her apartment when someone knocked on her door. 3 sharp raps, authoritative. She checked the peephole carefully. Damien's instructions. 2 large men in suits stood in the hallway, professional and alert. Between them was an older woman in an elegant navy coat and pearls. Clara's breath caught. It was her, the woman from the alley. She opened the door slowly. "Hello, Miss Martinez." The woman's voice was warm, cultured. "May I come in? I promise, this isn't an interrogation." Clara stepped aside. The 2 bodyguards remained in the hallway as the woman entered, her eyes scanning the small studio apartment. Clara saw it through her eyes, the thrift store furniture, the dishes drying on a towel because the dishwasher was broken, the mattress on the floor pretending to be a bedroom. "I apologize for the intrusion," the woman said. "I'm Rosa Russo. I believe we've met, though not formally." "I remember." Clara twisted her hands together. "Are you okay? They didn't hurt you?" Rosa's expression softened with surprise. "That's your first question? After everything my son put you through?" "I just wanted to know if helping you was worth it." Something flickered across Rosa's face, emotion she quickly controlled. She moved to the small couch without asking, gestured for Clara to sit beside her.
Please.
"Let's talk properly." Clara sat, maintaining distance. Rosa didn't seem dangerous, but neither had the alley before everything went wrong. "First," Rosa said, "I need to thank you.
Truly thank you.
What you did that night, running toward danger instead of away, that took real courage." "It was stupid," Clara said quietly. "Everyone keeps telling me how stupid it was." Courage often looks like stupidity to people who've forgotten how to be brave. Rosa reached into her purse, pulled out a small photo in a silver frame. "Do you have children, Clara?"
No.
"I can barely take care of myself." Rosa handed her the photo. 3 boys, maybe ages 8, 10, and 12, laughing on a beach somewhere. "My sons." This was 30 years ago. Damien is the middle one. Always serious, even then. Clara studied the photo. Damien looked almost normal, a regular kid with sand in his hair and a half-smile. Before he became whatever he was now. "They grew up in a difficult world," Rosa continued. "A world where showing weakness meant death. Where kindness was something to exploit, not celebrate." She took the photo back, traced her finger over it lovingly. "I tried to keep them human. To teach them that power without mercy makes you a monster." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to understand something." Rosa turned to face Clara directly. "That night in the alley, you didn't just save my life. You reminded me that people like you still exist. People who help strangers without asking what's in it for them." Clara felt tears threatening. She blinked them back. "I didn't know who you were." "Exactly. You didn't know I was someone important. You didn't know my son could pay you or protect you. You helped because it was right." Rosa's hand moved like she wanted to touch Clara's arm, then stopped. "In my world, that's rarer than diamonds. Your world has made my life hell this past week." "I know. And I'm sorry for that." Rosa's voice was genuine. "Damien is protective. Sometimes too protective. He sees threats everywhere because threats are everywhere for us. But he's not a monster, Clara. He's a man trying to protect his family the only way he knows how. By using me as bait.
Rosa sighed.
By being strategic. It's how he survives." She paused. "But he also made sure you're protected. Made sure your roommate is safe. Given you resources to start over when this ends. That's more than strategy. That's honor."
Honor. Clara laughed bitterly.
"Is that what we're calling kidnapping now?"
No.
Kidnapping is kidnapping. But honor is keeping you alive when easier options existed. Rosa's voice grew firmer. "You stumbled into a war, Clara. A war between families that's been brewing for months. You became a symbol whether you wanted to or not. Damien could have eliminated that symbol. Instead, he's protecting it. The words settled heavily. Clara hadn't thought about it that way, that keeping her alive was actually the harder choice. The men who attacked you, Clara said quietly. The ones in the alley. Were they trying to hurt you or test response times? Security protocols. They wanted to see how long it took for my protection detail to arrive. Rosa's jaw tightened. They expected me to be alone, vulnerable, reporting back what happened. You ruined their plan. So, they're angry at me too?
No.
They're confused by you. And confusion makes them cautious. Rosa stood, moved to the window, overlooking the street. You're a wild card, Clara Martinez. Nobody knows what to do with you. That's keeping you alive. Clara joined her at the window. 2 floors down, she could see the black sedan, ever present. Will this ever really be over?
Yes.
One way or another, wars end. My son will make sure it ends favorably for us. For you, Rosa turned to face her. And when it does, I want you to know something. What you did mattered. You saved a mother. That means more than you can imagine. I just wish it hadn't complicated everything. The best things usually do. Rosa pulled a card from her purse. My private number. If you ever need anything, truly anything, you call me directly. Not Damien. Not his men. Me. Clara took the card, stared at the embossed numbers. Why would you give me this? Because I owe you a life debt. In my family, that's sacred. Rosa moved toward the door, paused. And because I see something in you. Something strong. You'd survive in my world if you had to. I don't want to survive in your world. I want to survive in mine. Then we'll make sure you can. Rosa opened the door. Her bodyguards immediately flanked her. Be careful, Clara. Be smart. And remember, you're not alone in this. You have my protection, not just my son's. She left, the door closing softly behind her. Clara stood in her empty apartment, the card in her hand, feeling like the world had tilted again. Rosa wasn't what she expected. There was warmth there, genuine gratitude, a mother's fierce love for her children. It made everything more complicated. Because it's easier to hate faceless criminals than it is to hate a mother who saves photos of her sons as children. Easier to resist being part of their world when you don't see their humanity. Clara looked at the card again, then carefully placed it in her wallet next to the emergency phone Damien had given her. She was collecting lifelines from people she wasn't sure she should trust. But in a war between shadows, even questionable lifelines were better than drowning alone. Her phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. Clara glanced out the window. The sedan was still there. Somewhere else in the city, 2 more of Damien's men were watching Sarah teach English to immigrants trying to build better lives. Protection or surveillance. Lifeline or leash. Maybe both. Maybe that's what survival looked like now. Tuesday night. 1 week since the alley. Clara's last shift before Damien had promised this would resolve itself. She pulled her jacket tight against the October wind and started the walk home from Murphy's Diner. 10:40 p.m. The streets were quieter than usual, the first real cold snap keeping people indoors. The new phone Damien had given her buzzed in her pocket. A text, take your normal route tonight. Clara stopped walking. Her normal route. That meant the alley.
Yes. Trust me.
Her hands shook as she typed back. Why? Because we're ending this. Tonight. Just walk. We've got you. Clara stared at the message. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to take the long way around, to call in sick and hide in her apartment. But she'd agreed to this. Made a deal. And Damien had kept his word so far. Sarah was safe. Money in her account. No one had touched her. She took a breath and turned toward 5th Avenue.
Toward the alley.
The street was nearly empty. A few cars passed, headlights cutting through the darkness. Clara's footsteps echoed too loud on the sidewalk. She felt exposed, vulnerable, like prey walking into a trap. I'm the bait, she reminded herself. The trap is for them, not me. Didn't make her feel better. She reached the alley entrance, The same one where everything had started. The same dumpster. The same shadows. Even the smell was identical, garbage and rain-soaked concrete. Clara's ribs ached with muscle memory. She stepped into the darkness. 30 feet in, she heard it. Footsteps behind her. Multiple sets moving fast. Clara's heart exploded into overdrive. She walked faster, not quite running. Couldn't look weak. Had to play this right. Clara Martinez, a man's voice, the same one from before. Leather jacket guy. Stop right there. She stopped, turned slowly. 3 men this time. Leather jacket, bull's cap, and a new one, younger, nervous-looking. They spread out, blocking both her escape routes. Twice in 1 week, Leather jacket said, smiling without warmth. Must be fate. I delivered your message, Clara said, proud her voice didn't shake. Like you asked, we're done. Oh, we're not done. See, Russo didn't respond the way we expected. Didn't back off. Didn't even acknowledge our warning. He moved closer. Which means either he doesn't care about you, or he's playing a bigger game. Either way, we need to know which. I don't know anything. You keep saying that. But you're still alive. Still under his protection. That means something. He nodded to Bull's cap. So we're gonna take you somewhere quiet. Ask some questions. See what the Russo boy does when we actually grab his pet waitress. Clara backed up. His men are watching. They're always watching. Not tonight, Leather jacket grinned. Tonight they're conveniently distracted. A little fire at one of Russo's warehouses across town. Amazing timing, right? The younger guy pulled out zip ties. Bull's cap cracked his knuckles. This was it. This was the moment. Clara's hand moved toward her pocket, toward the phone. Headlights blazed at both ends of the alley simultaneously. 2 black SUVs screeched to a stop, blocking both exits. Doors flew open. Men poured out 6, 8, 10 of them. All armed. All moving with military precision. Don't move. Damien's voice cut through the darkness. He stepped out of the lead SUV, flanked by Luca and 4 others.
Nobody moves, nobody dies.
Leather jacket's face went white. Bull's cap reached for something, a gun, a knife, but froze when red lasers appeared on all 3 men's chests. The fire was bait, Vincent, Damien said calmly, walking forward. Did you really think I'd leave her unprotected? That I'd fall for something that obvious? Vincent, Leather jacket, raised his hand slowly.
Russo.
This is just business. Business is negotiation. This is kidnapping. Threatening civilians. Making moves in my territory without permission. Damien's voice was ice. This is stupidity. From the second SUV, a back door opened. Someone pushed Clara gently toward it. She stumbled backward, away from the confrontation, and strong hands guided her inside. The door closed. She was in the back seat, pressed against the far window. Through the tinted glass, she watched everything unfold like a movie. Damien stood 5 feet from Vincent now. Who sent you?
Castellano?
Or are you freelancing? We're just messengers. Messengers who threaten to kidnap innocent women? Damien's jaw tightened. Last chance. Who's behind this? Vincent glanced at his companions. Bull's cap nodded almost imperceptibly. Some silent agreement. You want to know who's behind it? Vincent said. Look closer at your own. The crack of gunfire shattered the night. Clara screamed, hands over her ears. But the shot hadn't come from Damien's men. Vincent crumpled, blood blooming across his chest. Bull's cap had shot him, his own partner, and was now aiming at Damien. Everything happened in seconds. Damien dove left.
Luca fired.
Bull's cap went down. The young guy tried to run and was tackled by 2 of Damien's men. Shouting, more gunshots, the smell of cordite and blood. Then silence. Clara couldn't breathe.
Couldn't think.
She'd just watched someone die. Actually die. 20 feet from her, a man had been shot by his own partner and... The SUV door opened. Damien slid in beside her, composed despite what had just happened. No blood on him, thank God. But his eyes were hard. Drive, he ordered. The vehicle lurched forward, navigating around the bodies, the chaos. Clara stared straight ahead, shaking. He shot his own man. To keep him quiet. Whatever Vincent was about to say, someone didn't want us hearing it. Damien was already on his phone. Luca, keep the young one alive. I want him talking. And sweep the area. Someone was watching this, coordinating. He hung up, looked at Clara. You okay? I just watched someone die. Her voice sounded distant, disconnected from her body. And you're alive because we expected this. Because we were ready, his tone softened slightly. I told you we'd keep you safe. I meant it. What did he mean? Look closer at your own? Damien's expression darkened. That someone in my organization is working with the Castellanos. A rat, he cursed quietly. This just got more complicated. The SUV drove through the night, putting distance between them and the alley. Clara couldn't stop shaking. Behind them, sirens began to wail. Police responding to reports of gunfire. But they were already gone. Take her home, Damien told the driver. Then to Clara, pack a bag. You're not staying at your apartment tonight. Neither is Sarah. We're moving both of you until I clean house. Moving us where? Somewhere safe. Somewhere no one inside my organization knows about. He met her eyes. The war just changed, Clara. And until I know who I can trust, you're staying close. It wasn't a request. The waitress who'd walked into an alley a week ago was gone. What remained was a survivor, whether she wanted to be or not. The safe house was a condo in Lincoln Park, sleek, modern, completely anonymous. Sarah paced near the windows, talking rapidly on her phone to someone, trying to explain why she'd been pulled from her apartment by professional security at midnight. Clara sat on the leather couch, still wearing her waitress uniform, staring at nothing. She couldn't stop seeing it. Vincent crumpling.
The blood.
The sound of the gunshot echoing off brick walls. Clara? Sarah hung up, sat beside her. Talk to me. You're scaring me.
I'm okay.
You're not okay. You've been sitting like that for an hour, Sarah's voice cracked. What happened tonight? I can't. Clara's throat closed. I can't talk about it yet. The door opened. Luca stepped in first, scanned the room with professional efficiency, then nodded to someone behind him. Damien entered, still wearing the same clothes from the alley, looking tired but controlled. Miss Chun, he said to Sarah. There's a bedroom upstairs. I need to speak with Clara alone. Sarah looked at Clara, who nodded slightly. Sarah squeezed her hand once, then left, throwing suspicious glances at Damien as she climbed the stairs. Damien waited until the bedroom door closed. Then he moved to the bar, poured 2 glasses of whiskey, and handed one to Clara. I don't drink, she said quietly. Tonight you do, he sat in the chair across from her. Trust me. Clara took the glass, sipped. It burned going down, but the warmth helped, grounded her, made the numbness recede slightly. The young one talked, Damien said. Gave us names. Castellano's nephew was coordinating everything, the attack on my mother, the surveillance, tonight's ambush. Trying to prove himself to his uncle. And Vincent, the man who was supposed to be eliminated by his own people. Loose end. They knew we'd grab someone eventually, so they made sure whoever we grabbed couldn't talk. Damien's jaw tightened. Sloppy work. Desperate work. Clara took another drink. So it's over? Almost. We know who the rat is now, one of my warehouse supervisors. He's being dealt with. Damien paused. The Castellanos will back off. We've made our point clear. They're not ready for an actual war, just testing boundaries. People died for boundary testing. Yes, Damien met her eyes. That's the world I live in, where boundaries are written in blood. Clara set down her glass. Why are you telling me this? You won. You got what you wanted. I was useful bait. Now you can send me away with my payout and forget I exist. Is that what you think? Something flickered in Damien's expression. That you were just bait. Wasn't I? Damien was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, moved to the window overlooking the city lights. When my father was alive, he taught me 3 rules. Never show weakness. Never trust anyone completely. Never let emotion override strategy. He turned back to face her. Those rules kept him alive for 30 years in this business. And eventually got him killed anyway. Clara waited. This was different from the cold interrogator, the calculating boss. This was something real. You confused me, Damien continued. You didn't fit any pattern I understood. You weren't an operative, too sloppy. Weren't seeking attention, too scared. Weren't stupid, too observant. You were just good, genuinely good. And I didn't know what to do with that. So you used me.
Yes.
But not just as bait. He moved closer, sat on the coffee table across from her. Close enough that she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he carried. You did something I needed and didn't know I needed. You exposed my enemies. Forced them to show themselves. Without you, they'd still be hiding, still probing, still chipping away at my family's safety. I didn't do anything. I just existed in the wrong place. You did more than that. Damien's voice was firm. You walked into danger twice. Once in the alley, once tonight. You trusted me when you had every reason not to. You kept your head during an ambush. That takes courage. It takes stupidity. Courage often looks like stupidity to people watching from safety. He paused. My mother said something similar. She was right. Clara felt tears threatening. She blinked them back. I watched someone die tonight. I know. And you act like it's normal. Like violence is just part of Tuesday evening. It is normal. For me, Damien's voice softened slightly. But I remember when it wasn't. When I was young, before this life fully claimed me, I thought violence was something that happened to other people. The first time I saw someone killed, I couldn't sleep for weeks. What changed? Necessity. My father's death. Responsibility. He looked at his hands. You adapt or you die. I chose to adapt. I don't want to adapt to this, Clara whispered. You won't have to. This ends tomorrow. The Castellanos will receive our terms. They stay away from my family, my territory, my people. In return, we don't retaliate for tonight. They'll agree. It's good business. And me? You get what I promised. $30,000. Enough to relocate anywhere you want. New city, new start. Luca's already preparing the paperwork for a clean identity switch if you want it. New social security number, credit history, everything. Clara stared at him. You're serious. I keep my promises, Miss Martinez. Always. He stood, straightened his jacket. You helped my family, whether you meant to or not. You walked into danger and didn't break. That earns respect. And reward. I don't want respect from your world. Then take the money and leave it behind. Damien moved toward the door, paused. For what it's worth, you reminded me of something. That not everyone in the city is corrupt or broken or out for themselves. Some people still help strangers just because it's right. Did that change anything? For you? Damien considered. Ask me in a year. If I'm still alive, he opened the door. Get some rest. Tomorrow you start over. Clean slate. Damien, Clara surprised herself by using his first name. He turned back. Thank you. For keeping Sarah safe. For keeping your word. He nodded once. Thank you. For saving my mother. The debt is paid, Clara Martinez. Then he was gone. Luca closing the door behind them. Clara heard their footsteps fade, heard the elevator ding. Then silence. She sat alone in the expensive safe house, processing everything. A week ago, she was a broke waitress worried about eviction. Now she had money, a new identity waiting, and the respect of a man who terrified her. Sarah came down the stairs slowly. Is he gone? Yeah. Clara. What the hell is going on? Clara looked at her roommate, her friend, the only stable thing in her chaotic life right now. I saved someone, and it changed everything. Changed how? Clara thought about Damien's tired eyes, Rose's genuine gratitude, the violence and protection and impossible choices. I don't know yet, she said honestly, but I think it changed me most of all. Sarah sat beside her, and they sat together in silence. Two ordinary people caught in extraordinary circumstances, waiting for dawn and whatever came after. 3 weeks later, Clara walked into Murphy's diner for the morning shift. Same uniform, same route, same job. But nothing was the same. Marcus looked up from the grill when she entered, gave her a nod that held more weight than it used to. "Morning, Clara." "Morning." She tied her apron, grabbed her order pad. Jenny appeared from the back, coffee pot in hand. "Table 6 is asking for you specifically. Regular guy, comes in every Tuesday now." Clara glanced over. An older businessman, reading the Tribune, completely ordinary. Except he always sat in her section. Always tipped exactly 50%. Never asked questions, never lingered, just watched. Respectfully.
Protectively.
She'd learned to recognize them. Damien's people, scattered throughout her new normal life. Different faces, same purpose. Making sure she was safe. Making sure everyone else knew it too. "Thanks, Jenny." Clara poured coffee, delivered it to table 6. The man nodded, went back to his paper. Guardian angel in a business suit. The morning rushed past normally. Mostly. Mrs. Chin came in for her usual breakfast and actually smiled at Clara. Not the nervous avoidance from before, but something warmer. Respectful. Tony Marchetti, who'd tried to befriend her for connections, now avoided eye contact entirely. The neighborhood had recalibrated around her. She wasn't just Clara Martinez, broke waitress, anymore. She was Clara Martinez, the girl who'd gotten taken by the Russo family and came back. The girl who'd survived something most people only whispered about. The girl who apparently had protection from one of Chicago's most powerful families. It wasn't true, not really. She'd been bait, been used, been caught between forces beyond her control. But perception was stronger than truth. And the perception was that she mattered to Damien Russo. During her break, she walked to the corner store. Mr. Patel, the owner, had her cigarettes ready before she asked. She didn't smoke, but he always had them ready anyway. "Good morning, Miss Martinez," he said warmly. Hadn't called her miss before. "Everything well today?" "Fine, Mr. Patel. Just the usual." She paid, left, and that's when she saw it. The black SUV, parked half a block down. Different from the ones that had taken her, but similar enough. She'd seen it 3 times this week, always distant, always watching, never approaching. Clara should feel violated, surveilled,
Trapped.
Instead, she felt strange. Safer than she'd ever been in Chicago, but also more isolated. Protected, but marked. Free, but forever changed. She hadn't taken the money to leave. That was the part that surprised her most. Damien had offered her $30,000 and a new identity. A clean slate in a new city. Everything she'd thought she wanted: escape, anonymity, a fresh start. But standing in that safe house, staring at the paperwork, she'd realized something. Running meant the alley had defeated her. Running meant that one moment of courage would define her as a victim forever. So she'd taken half the money, enough to be comfortable, not enough to disappear. Enough to upgrade her apartment, buy decent furniture, stop living paycheck to paycheck. But she'd stayed. Same city.
Same job.
Same life. Just different. Sarah had moved out 2 weeks ago, taken a teaching position in Minnesota. "Too much drama," she'd said, hugging Clara goodbye. "I love you, but I can't live wondering if men in suits will show up again." Clara understood. She'd become a lightning rod, and lightning was dangerous to everyone nearby. Now she lived alone in a better apartment, paid her bills early, saved money for the first time in her life. She had Damien's emergency number saved in her phone, had never used it, probably never would, but it was there. Rose's card was in her wallet, also unused. Connections to a world she'd never wanted but couldn't fully escape. The diner shift ended at 2 p.m. Clara walked home in daylight, took the main streets. The alley, that alley she avoided now. Some boundaries you didn't cross twice. Her apartment building looked the same, but the residents treated her differently. They held doors open, nodded respectfully, asked if she needed anything. Some with genuine kindness, others with the careful politeness you showed someone connected to power. Clara climbed the stairs, unlocked her door, stepped into her quiet apartment. Photos on the wall. Her and Sarah before everything, her mother back in Springfield. Reminders of the simple life she used to have. She made coffee, sat by the window. From here, if she looked carefully, she could see the corner where the SUV usually parked. It was there now. It was always there. Damien had said the debt was paid, that she was free. But freedom had gotten complicated. She'd saved a woman in an alley. One choice, maybe 3 minutes of courage and stupidity combined. And that choice had rewritten everything. Her reputation, her relationships, her future. She wasn't part of the Russo family. Wasn't a criminal. Wasn't an operative. Wasn't anything except a waitress who'd made a split-second decision that echoed louder than she'd ever imagined. But the Mafia walked parallel to her life now. Always would. A shadow she couldn't shake, a protection she hadn't asked for, a connection that would follow her forever. Clara sipped her coffee and watched the city move below. Ordinary people living ordinary lives, unaware of the invisible lines that divided Chicago into territories and power structures. She'd crossed one of those lines 3 weeks ago, and there was no going back. She'd never joined Damien's world.
Never wanted to.
But that world had joined hers. And in the strangest way, as she sat in her quiet apartment with money in the bank and ghosts in SUVs watching her street, Clara realized something. She'd survived. Not just the violence, not just the fear. She'd survived becoming someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who'd faced darkness and didn't break. The girl in the alley would have been terrified by this life. The woman by the window had learned to live with it. That was enough. For now, that was enough.